Okay, so a couple videos ago, I had mentioned that I had dropped my camera, and for some reason, the memory card cracked in it. I don't know how my camera was fine, but the memory card was fucked. So anyways, I lost all those reviews that I had done. Anyways, you guys have asked me about these movies, okay, and I wanted to give you something. So I'm just going to quickly go through each one of them and let you know if I liked it or not. Some of these movies I've watched like well over a month ago. For some of these, I've probably watched like 25 to 30 more movies since seeing some of these. So I don't remember everything or, all the key points in every movie that I'm going to talk about. But I do know whether I like them or not, and I'll let you know why for what I can remember. At least this way it gives you something to go off. I'm assuming you value my opinion if you've come here, and a lot of you have asked me about these movies. So I've taken these ones that I'm going to talk about, and I better shut up and get this stupid explosion intro thing over so we can get going on it, or it's going to take forever. Okay, so this is in no particular order. Okay, I just have them out here on my screen, and I'm just going to quickly go through them and let you know what I thought of them, and I'll give you the synopsis just so you can see the movie I'm talking about. Okay, so the first one is All My Friends Hate Me. Pete is cautiously excited about reuniting with his college crew for a birthday weekend, but one by one, his friends slowly turn against him. Is he being punished? Is he being paranoid? Or is he part of some sick joke? Okay. I didn't really care for this movie, all right? And the reason being is that when you get to the end of it, it's stupid. It really is, okay? It's one of these movies where Pete has been invited by his friends to go away for the weekend. They rent this, it's almost like a mansion, okay? And they're going to celebrate his birthday. There's only 3 of them, okay, that go, and Pete included, so there's 4. And then they, for some reason, pick up this bozo at the bar, and he comes along with them because he's fun to be around, and he's a real jokester, and blah, blah, blah. So, but it's just, that's what happens with this movie, is just throughout the entirety of the movie, his friends just start picking on him, and he's put in certain situations where he looks like the asshole, but he's really not. And then this guy that they bring along from the bar, whose name is Harry, it's almost like he's edging him on with certain things that he knows from his past. And it's one of these movies where none of your friends are ever going to do this shit to you. And then at the end of it, when he's at the end of his rope, he reveals this big, long fucking thing that he did when he's a kid. And then as all his friends are like, what are you talking about? Like, what? How did you even get that? Like, why don't you have a sense of humor? And why are you mad at us? Yet the entire movie, they're there treating him like shit. It's just, like, I get what the director was doing, but it's just, this will never fucking happen in real life. And it's one of these things where, we're just going to write this story to be so over the top and ridiculous, and then at the end you're just supposed to accept it, even though in a real world situation it would never fucking happen because it's so ridiculous. And this Harry character would have got the shit kicked out of him a long time ago. So anyways, I just shut this movie off, and I was shaking my head. To give it a rating, I'd probably give this movie a 3 out of 10. Some people might like it. I just didn't care for this. It was more annoying than anything else. And I mean, if that's what the director was going for, to annoy the fuck out of your audience, well, bravo, sir, because you fucking did it. Another movie this movie here, The Off Season, I haven't been more disappointed with the ending of a movie since the final episode of Lost. Okay, if you watch the trailer for this flick, it seriously has potential, and the acting is fairly decent in this movie. But let me read the synopsis. After receiving a mysterious letter, a woman travels to a desolate island town and soon becomes trapped in a nightmare. Okay, Jocelyn Donahue, who plays Maria in this movie, gets a letter saying that her mother's grave has been vandalized or disturbed or something. So she has to go back to this small town. I don't know if it's, I think it's her boyfriend she's with. It's not her husband, but I think it's her boyfriend. Anyways, they go back to this small little town. It's kind of like an island setting. They have to go across this bridge to get to it. Okay, and as soon as they come in the first act to the gate, or the toll keeper or whatever he is, the bridge guy, I said to myself, okay, she's going to get on this island on the other side of this bridge, and she's not going to be able to get back. That's going to be the premise of this movie, because I hadn't seen the trailer for it or anything. And I was right. That's all she does, man. As soon as she goes across the bridge, it more or less just turns into a Scooby-Doo mystery, where she's, you know, we get to the town, you know, they go into the bar, you know, and all the locals are there and give her the dirty looks and the stares and what the fuck who's this person? Why are they there? Kind of like an American Werewolf in London, you know, it's just, you know, and then from there, you know, she finds out that weird shit's going on, and she tries to get out of this town and she can't. So it's just like her running from spot to spot, you know, in this town, trying to piece the clues together so she can figure out how to get out of here and stuff like that. And if you do watch the trailer for this movie, because I did watch it after just to kind of refresh myself, because I'd seen this movie over a month ago, there's a scene in here in the trailer where it shows this big creature coming out of the fucking water, okay, which is kind of the premise of this movie, because this town sells its soul to the demon, you know what I mean, to help them prosper and stuff like that. But once they die, they can't fucking leave, right? The demon keeps them there, which is what's happened to this woman, because she's part of the family or whatever. So, but there's a scene in this movie where it shows this demon coming out of the water. Now, it's just a background silhouette. So when watching that scene in the trailer, you might think this is turning into a monster movie or something. It's not. Seriously, what you see in the trailer with this creature that's all you're going to get in this movie. It is disappointing, and it is fucking boring, and I did not care for this movie either. To give it a rating, I'd probably give it another 3 out of 10. It didn't click with me, and I just really wanted it to be over. Now, a movie I did like, okay, and this is like a cheeseball, corny B movie, is Crabs, okay? I'll read the synopsis. A horde of murderous crab monsters descend on a sleepy coastal town on prom night, and only a ragtag group of outcasts can save the day. Well, that's it, man. These giant mutated crabs, because of a nuclear leak or whatever the hell it was, mutate these crabs into these killing machines. And the main characters of this movie have to kind of band together and defeat these fucking crabs. And I'll tell you, it was refreshing to watch this movie. Now, it's not the perfect movie, okay, and a lot of people might think it's stupid, but I have seen so many movies lately that try and pull off CGI creatures, and it's terrible, especially when they take like the movie seriously. This movie doesn't take itself seriously, which makes it even better, okay? It knows it has a micro budget, and it knows that the CGI is going to look fucking terrible. So when they do use CGI in this movie, it looks fucking terrible, but it's almost like they make it look terrible because they know they have no money to fucking pull it off. But the other thing that I liked about it is that they probably knew they didn't have a lot of money to use the terrible CGI. So a lot of the stuff we see on screen is practical. And I fucking loved it. Like all these crab creatures, and the ending of this movie is fantastic. But the crab creatures are all practical. A lot of the blood and guts is practical. Yeah, there's a few scenes where we have this giant monstrous crab on the beach, or a whale, I think it is. I think it's CGI. You can tell it is. But the final fight of this scene, or this movie, if you're a huge fan of the Power Rangers or TV shows of that nature, where, you know, the Power Rangers at the end of each episode would fight these creatures. It's just men in suits. Okay, well that's what this movie ends up being in the third act, is this giant mutated crab, which is just a guy in a suit, has to fight what this genius kid has created, which is like a giant shark robot. And they have a big battle on the fucking beach. I thought it was hilarious. Is it stupid? Absolutely, it's stupid. But this movie knows it's going to be that, and it makes it even that much more fun to watch. So I did like this movie. Okay, I really did. I didn't really touch on the acting, but even the acting in this movie was far superior than a lot of the movies I've watched lately. It's just, I like this movie. I'm going to recommend it. To give it a rating, probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. Another movie that I fucking loved, okay, was the movie called Fresh. Basically, in a nutshell, here, I'll read the synopsis. The horror of modern dating seen through one young woman's defiant battle to survive her new boyfriend's unusual appetite. Okay, well that synopsis is very vague. Okay, if you haven't seen the trailer for this movie, don't watch it. Okay, just go into this movie not knowing anything about it, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's just basically our main star meets this guy after she's pretty much given up on dating. She meets this guy in the grocery store. They kind of fall for each other, and then he asks her if she would like to go away with him for a weekend. Okay, she reluctantly says yes because they're just kind of getting to know each other. But they do. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say past this. Okay, now this movie I saw a while ago, so I'm assuming a lot of you have seen it. But if you haven't seen this movie yet, watch it. It was, out of this entire list, this is one of my favorite movies. Okay, I thought this movie was refreshing. The way the two main characters interacted with each other was great. It's just stellar acting, great direction, and pretty smart writing. Yes, you can say the ending may have been a little quick, okay, but other than that little bit at the end, I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. To give it a rating, I'd give this one a 7.5. I thought this movie was fantastic. It's called Fresh. Make sure you check it out. If you've seen it, let me know in the comment section what you guys thought about that one. Another movie that I absolutely loved, okay, is Hellbender. It's on Shudder, okay, and it's by the Addams Family. There's the mother, the father, and then there's two daughters. Now, if you go on their filmography page, okay, they have a bunch of movies that they've done. It's basically a family that puts out not just horror movies, but you know, all types of movies. But go on their page, and I first got onto them a couple years ago. They've had, you know, numerous movies come out, and I can't remember off the top of my head what movie it was I first found this Addams Family, but I thought that movie was fantastic. And then this one here, Hellbender, was shot during the COVID lockdown. And I thought they killed it. I really, like, there's CGI in this movie, but it's not overly used. A lot of the blood and gore and stuff like that is in camera practical effects, which I absolutely loved. And in a nutshell, basically it's just about this mom and daughter who live in this cabin out in the middle of nowhere, and we find out that they're witches, okay? And the mom knows how dangerous the daughter can become if she doesn't control her witchiness, okay? Because she's very powerful. So she just kind of secludes them and keeps them away from each other. But then the daughter, you know what's going to come. She's a teenager just kind of coming into her own, getting those urges. And then she finds other teenagers, okay? And she bonds to them, and she wonders why she can't hang out with them. The mother has told her that, you know, she can't be around other people because she's, you know, she'll die or whatever it was, or she'll get like infection or something like that. But she soon finds out that that's not true, and then all hell breaks loose, okay? But listen, that's all I'm going to say. This movie's fucking fantastic. It is how low budget movies should be done. Know what your budget is. Create yourself a good story. Get some half decent actors, which they do because it's this family. The interaction is great. The writing is fucking fantastic. And I loved it. Hellbender, it's on Shudder. If you don't have Shudder, you probably should get it because, well, I mean, it's Shudder. It's fucking awesome. So anyways, highly recommend Hellbender. Okay, so before I get into this movie, Studio 666, I just want to say I was just as saddened by the passing of Taylor Hawkins as everyone else was. I love the Foo Fighters. I honestly do, which is why I was so excited to go see this movie. But I fucking hated this movie. I absolutely hated it. I went and saw it in the theater. I took my son. And I'll be honest, if I was with my friends, I probably would have got up and left, okay? But because I had my son there and he wanted to see it too, and I wasn't sure if he was liking it or not because, you know, we don't obviously talk to each other in the theater, I just forced myself to sit through this movie, okay? And then at the end of it, you know, like I asked my buddies and everything, so what'd you think of it? And he goes, dude, that was the stupidest movie I've ever seen in my life. I thought, fuck, why didn't you tell me? I would have got up and left 45 minutes ago. This movie is terrible, okay? And I'm just going to say this because I've said this, to a few people in conversation and, on Facebook, on my group, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, but quite a few people have tried to defend it. Okay, I'm just going to say this straight up, okay? And you can argue with me in the comments if you want. This is it, okay? This movie's fucking garbage, okay? The jokes don't fucking hit the mark. The acting's terrible, which is fine because it's the Foo Fighters. They're a music band, not a bunch of actors. So I got that, okay? But the writing is atrocious and is so cliche-filled and just nonsensical and drawn out. It's terrible, okay? And I'm just going to say this, and I've said this to other people. If the Foo Fighters weren't in this movie, okay, if it was just a cast of B-list actors who we've never seen before, this movie would be getting raked over the fucking coals, okay? Because no matter what you call it, this flick is awful, all right? But because the Foo Fighters are in it, okay, a lot of people love it because the Foo Fighters. I'm guilty of it too, okay? I actually like the Kiss movie, all right? Kiss versus the Phantom of the Park or whatever the fuck it's called. That movie, I know, is fucking horrendous, okay? But I watched it when I was a kid, and I like it even to this day. But I know it's terrible, okay? Kiss even has said it's a terrible movie. Everyone knows it's a terrible movie. This movie, Studio 666, is a fucking terrible movie. But the Foos are in it, so a lot of people are going to defend it, and I get it, okay? So my personal opinion is this movie failed miserably, and I hated it. And if I didn't have my kid with me, I probably would have. I've only got up and left during 2 movies in my entire life. The second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the one from way back when I was a kid, and the Mel Brooks movie, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Those are the only 2 movies I've ever got up and walked out of. Okay, this would have been the third if I didn't have my kid with me. To give it, I'm not even going to give it a rating. I was so let down with this movie. It was terrible. And I mean fucking terrible. Okay, so next up is the movie Tethered. Let me read the synopsis. In the film, set miles from civilization, a blind teenager and the hunter he befriends are tormented by a mysterious creature lurking in the woods. Okay, so this movie is basically about this blind kid. And in the opening scenes, he's a lot younger. I don't know exactly how old he is. He might be, 8, 9 years old. Living in this cabin with his mother, like it says, in the middle of nowhere. Okay, I did like the opening of this movie because you really don't know what's going on. But the movie Tethered is his mom has given him this rope tied to the house, and it lets him go out so far into the yard, almost to the boundaries that are set by this wooded area because they live in the forest. So in this opening act, we kind of get a small background history. It's kind of a mystery though, but we do learn that the mother is getting sick. We don't know what's wrong with her. She has this cough and blah blah blah, and it's kind of like the surprise ending at the end of this movie, which I don't want to spoil for you. So, but halfway through the first act, we jump ahead. I don't know how many years. The kid is not a kid anymore. He's now like a teenager. I'm going to say just by looking at him, he's somewhere between 16 and maybe 18 years old. But his mother has left, okay? And she left years ago, okay? Literally years ago. So he's been here by himself, looking after himself. And, the thing with this movie is it was a short film that was done a couple years ago, okay? And now it's been made into this feature-length film. But the problem is it feels like a short film that has been stretched an extra hour to give it this feature length. There's not a lot of meat here. And I kind of found myself picking things out about this movie. Like, how are these things possible? And most notably, when we jump, into this gap of years ahead, before this hunter comes that he befriends, I'm like, who the fuck is mowing this kid's lawn? Okay, because he lives on this farm. Okay, but and he's blind, and I'm not trying to make fun here. I was just thinking to myself, like, who mows the yard? Like, I have a field out back of my house, okay, and if the city doesn't come and mow it like every couple of weeks, I mean, within a month it's up to my knees. Okay, I'm thinking, okay, this has easily jumped 5 to 7 years ahead in time now. Like, who's maintaining this? Who's doing the weed eating? Who's pulling the weeds? More so, who's dusting the fucking house? This is the cleanest cabin I've ever seen in my life. And how is the food not depleted? I mean, again, we're talking like anywhere from a 5 to 7 year jump here, and he's still got fucking food on the shelves. Canned food and boxed food. I don't know. It was just things like that because I got bored of this movie. Okay, even when the hunter comes, this guy that finds his way in, into this kid's house, and he ends up staying there. Okay, but again, the conversations they have back and forth, it feels forced, and it feels like they are literally reading cue cards minutes, seconds before their lines have to be, shot. And it's just, I don't know. I kind of like the ending and where this movie could potentially go. And I don't want to spoil it for you, so watch it. But I don't know. Overall, out of 10, I'd probably give this, for me anyways, I give this movie a 5. I did appreciate the effort, but it just felt stretched. It felt like an absolute short film that was just given an extra hour of filler that really didn't need to be in there, and it's a shame. A little stronger writing, and they may have pulled it off. But again, if they do make some money on this and they do make a sequel, I am kind of curious to see where this movie is going to go beyond, the finale of the third act here. So, anyways, Tethered, 5 out of 5 for me, or 5 out of 10 for me. Finally, if you've hung around to the end, this is probably one of my favorite movies I have watched this year. Now, I am excited for the movie that comes out later this month called The Northman, which looks absolutely fucking killer, okay? But it's not a horror movie, okay? This is a horror movie. It's a werewolf movie. It's called The Cursed. I was lucky enough, this had a 1 week showing at Silver City of all places. Cineplex showed it for all the other Landmark and all the other theaters. We even have an art house theater here in London, the Highland. I thought for sure they would have played it. Nobody fucking picked this movie up except for Silver City for a week. And fuck me, am I ever glad I went and saw this movie. Now, I'm not going to tell you much about it other than it is a werewolf film. It's fucking killer. And I'll tell you, you know exactly what you're in for when you watch this movie, because I don't know if it was one take or a one shot. I'm not sure, but if they edited it perfectly. But there's a scene in this movie at the very beginning where this gypsy kind of I don't know, not even a village, but just the setup they have of these gypsies, and these guys come in from this town who want to get rid of them and just fucking massacre them, okay? Now, I'm not saying what they're doing was right, okay, but what I am saying is that the scene itself was absolutely not only traumatizing, but it was killer, just how it was shot. So any qualms I thought I was going to have about this film not being very good were just brushed away in that opening scene there. It was awesome. And the movie, after that scene, it just picks up, about this curse that come with this set of teeth that the kids find, and it was refreshing to see this movie. I highly recommend. Out of all the movies I've just talked about, I would say if you pick just one, this movie, The Cursed, it's so far, it is my favorite movie of the year. Whether I've watched horror, drama, sci-fi, everything, this movie is absolutely killer. As much as I like the movie Fresh, okay, and Hellbender, this movie is my favorite so far. So to give it a rating, I'd probably give this movie an 8. I absolutely loved this movie, and the creature in it, which was practical, and it was fucking killer. And they nailed it. For me, they nailed it, and I was so happy I got to see it in the theater. So anyways, okay, I'm going to end it there because I could, you know me, I like to ramble. Anyways, there's 8 movies that you have asked me about. I apologize that I had to make a video like this. I kind of stole it from the horror show, how they have to do their, horror movie roundups, but I just don't have time to go back and refilm all these. So I just wanted to kind of give you a quick little, I don't know, my opinion on them, not so much a review. So anyways, out of all the movies I've talked about, let me know what you thought about them, whether you've seen them or you're going to see them, or if I've helped, steer you in the right direction. And if you have seen them, let me know what you think of them. Yeah, anyways, that's it. Keep them coming in, guys. I've got lots of stuff on the way, and it looks like there's lots of good horror and sci-fi movies on the horizon. I I was excited about Morbius, but I have yet to see a good review for that movie, and I probably won't go see it in the theater. It's just getting terrible. I think it's got like a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, so everybody's just fucking slamming it. So I probably won't go see that movie. Not that I review big big budget movies anyways, but anyways, there's a lot of low budget gold coming out, so stay tuned. Lots coming. Anyways, guys, thanks for all the comments asking to talk about these movies. I hope I answered your questions. Yeah, anyways, that's it. Until next time, guys, stay scared.